Hello, I'm Elizabeth, an obsessive backyard gardener who might be able to offer you a couple of tips.
And I'm Keith, a landscape consultant, and I'm also passionate about gardening.
The one thing we both have in common is muddy boots. Welcome to April's Garden, our monthly guide to jobs to do in the garden from April 1st, wherever you are in Australia. April is that beautiful in-between month, don't you think?
Lovely. Hot days and cool nights.
Yes, lovely. Warm days, not hot, hopefully. The heat of summer is finally easing. The soil is still warm. Rainfall is often increasing, we hope, and gardens are shifting gears. It's a perfect window for planting, preparing, pruning, and planning ahead for winter. So whether you're in tropical Queensland, temperate Victoria, cool Tasmania, or the dry inland, today we're breaking down what to plant, what to prune, and what to feed this month.
Mm-hmm.
Keith,
Yeah.
what is the first thing that comes into your mind about gardening during the month of April?
Probably looking at what plants I can start cutting back, I guess, in terms of perennials. So I get out there and see what's still going to kick on for a bit longer, and those that just need to be cut right back. Those that are producing basal leaf.
Oh, yes.
That's the most important thing, making sure there are basal leaf down there.
Yep.
And I guess the other thing that I'm looking at is production in my vegetable garden. So, for instance, all the tomatoes are all finished, so they've all been pulled out, and the soil has been recomposted, and monash rock dust has gone back into that, and some liquid fertilizers like EEC. I put some of that in there as well, and some go-go juice to sort of populate the actual compost with microbes, and then we're off and running.
And how does the month differ between tropical, temperate, cool, all those sort of areas, climates?
Well, it's the sorts of things that you're going to be growing is going to be totally different all over Australia. And you've just got to maybe have a look at what things are available and growing around. And I guess there's if you remember the Diggers Club, they on the back of their magazines they always have the various zones. But if you're not a member of the Diggers Club, then I'd suggest you have a look at something like the seed collection, and they also have the various climatic areas that you can hone in onto when you know what your zone is, and hone in on that and plant those seed appropriate plants.
Yep. What vegetables are ideal to sow now in southern Australia where we are?
Well, I've already got a whole heap of broccolis and cabbages and collies in there in seedling form at the moment, about to go into these recomposted beds. But there's lots of things down here that you can actually sow. I mean, you've got beetroot varieties that you can go in. Beans, this is a great time now for broad beans, for instance, getting those in. There's whole heaps of different varieties of broccoli you can put in. So you can put in things like bunching broccoli that you just harvest the head and then cut the plant out and then put the new seedling in after that. Or there's varieties that are green sprouting. So once you've taken off the main head, you've got the green sprouting. Decicio is one of those, which is probably one of my favourites. You've got purple sprouting broccoli, which is a very late harvest, so you might put that in now and be harvesting that very, very later in the year.
Okay.
Then, of course, you've got cauliflower varieties. There's lots of different types of those. One of our favourites is Jessie Wakefield cauliflowers, and Jessie Wakefield also does little cabbages, which have got a little pointed head on them, and they're a beautiful little cabbage. Early Jessie Wakefield collies, for instance, have a beautiful small head, but if you and it's great for us for because it's just the two of us in the house.
Yep.
But what was told to me by an organic grower was, don't worry about growing just the small forms of cauliflowers if you only want small heads. Just grow the normal ones, but bunch them closer together.
So they don't grow as big.
They don't grow as big.
There you go.
That's another great little
That's a good tip.
And then, of course, there's lots of kale varieties if you're a pugilist.
So we actually had some kale chips the other night. They were very nice.
Oh, lucky you.
They were really good.
Oh,
why, lucky me. Why can't you make them?
No, I'm not into kale.
You don't like the kale?
There's one recipe that I actually do use for kale, and it's for the black Tuscan kale. Cavallonero.
Right.
So you actually harvest the leaves and you put it into, say, a chicken stock
Right.
with a bit of water in there and a bit of salt. And then the last thing you put in is actually a stone.
I was waiting for something funny to come. Yeah, what do you put a stone in there for?
Well, when the stone's soft, then you harvest them. You take the Tuscan kale out and eat it.
It's hilarious.
Not my cup of tea.
Obviously not your cup of tea.
No, I can't stand it.
Can't stand kale. It was sitting in the fridge, and then I came home and I thought, that's going to go in the compost. And then I came home and there were chips that had been made by my lovely husband, and they were quite delicious.
Were they?
Actually, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were good.
I trust you. I trust you.
Very crunchy, very crunchy. What flowering plants can we plant now for colour through winter and early spring?
Well, you'd want to be looking at bulbs. I think that's probably one of the biggest things to be planting during this particular part of the year. And I'm growing a whole heap of different ones this year. I'm going to be growing some crocus, for instance.
Right, lovely.
Which will look fantastic. And they're a nice little small, slow growing bulb, low growing, beautiful flowers. And of course, the one I've got's a saffron crocus, so I can actually harvest the stamens on those and
You've got saffron.
make a fortune. I can't because I need about 150,000 bulbs.
Okay, won't be doing that.
So,
All right,
yeah,
your bulbs,
any sort of bulbs now are fabulous for putting in. And ranunculus, these sorts of things can all start to go in. Daffodils, great time for those to go in. And if you want an edible plant, when potatoes, providing you can protect them from frost. You can put seed potatoes in now, and if you do them in bags, it's even better because you can move them under cover if you're likely to get a cold frost.
Yep.
So they're a great thing to put in. But yeah, so there's lots of colour that you can get in, but mainly through the bulb range.
Okay.
If you've got perennials, then you might carry on salvias for a bit longer. If you cut back and take out the old seed heads, you'll get those going for a fair bit longer, give you like extra bit of colour.
Mm-hmm. I want to do some transplanting for some things like my. I'm trying to think what they are now. I'm looking at staring at them. What are they out there, Keith? Because I'm having a blank. Not my verbena behind them.
The echinops.
The echinops. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Echinops retro. Can I transplant them quite safely at this time, around this time?
In April, yeah. But you're also looking at the basal growth on those. You want to be looking for basal growth.
Is there?
So, for instance, probably the plant that's been flowering the longest in our garden has been the Russian sage.
Yeah.
That's which is now Salvia yangii.
Yes, it is.
But I noticed just the other day that down the very, very bottom are all these new little tiny little white specks all coming up on the lower parts of the lower branches.
Yes,
and that is the new basal growth. So that's telling me that when those heads have finally finished, I can cut those down to those little tiny little nodules down there and dig those up if I want and move them.
And it's not safe to do until you can see
until
those
you've got to have basal growth down there. If you start cutting back things too hard without that with perennials, without that basal growth happening, then you'll just kill the plants. So always look for basal growth. Mm-hmm. The same will also be happening with a lot of the salvias. So the Salvia mystic spires or Salvia leucantha, these sorts of things.
Caradonna.
Yeah,
I think.
Yep.
Is that what? Yeah,
the little Caradonna salvias.
I've got some echinacea flowers that I'd like to transplant around the garden. I know that you've got a pretty nifty trick for doing this.
Well, it's something that we learnt from Tavistock Nursery.
Yeah.
From Karen down there who showed us the day we went down there. And she just simply said if you've got the dried heads of the echinacea, cut it off, leave a little bit of a stem on it, and then dig a hole and invert half the actual plant into that little hole, push the dirt up around it and just leave them.
So the stem's just sticking out.
So the stem just sticks out and the top bit of the actual flower head, dried flower head sticks out
a little bit too.
And then just leave it. And then what will happen is you'll produce a fabulous new plant.
Amazing.
I got some ripper plants out of mine by just doing that last year, which is fabulous.
I'm going to do that very soon when it's brown,
when
they're brown
those
and
heads
dry.
are totally dried off, yep.
Okay. All right. Is April a good month for planting trees and shrubs? It is, isn't it?
April's perfect because we're into late autumn, but there's still that beautiful warmth happening in that soil. So this is a great time to be planting any plant that other than a bare-rooted plant, any plant that is evergreen.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now's the time to be doing that. And when you do that, always give it a good dose of sea salt, or a seaweed solution.
When you're going to plant
When you're planting, yeah.
Right.
It'll just encourage that root growth.
Okay. And as far as transplanting is concerned, when you're removing something from the ground, if you're transplanting the whole plant, you should water it well
Yes,
beforehand.
before you
really give it a good old soak so that the roots are sort of,
are nice and wet.
Yes. And keep as much as the root ball and as much as the soil around it as you can.
Yep.
Reduce the plant to about a third.
Yeah, take a third off. And always be mindful of what you're cutting back. There's a lot of plants that resent hard cutback, and that the safety mechanism is to sort of say, have a look at a branch and count the lowest leaf and count at least 8 leaves above it.
That is great advice.
All
8
right?
leaves
And then
above
cut,
the lowest.
above the lowest. So, and one of the main ones to think about there, to give you an idea, for instance, is rosemary, for instance. If you go, or even lavender, always leave at least 8 leaves below where you make that cut.
I love that. I never knew that. Thank you very much for that. Okay, April is still a good time to do some lawn repairs. We've been talking about lawns a bit lately. Can you give us some quick tips on aeration, fertilising, etc., and tell us which fertilisers you recommend for lawn care?
For lawns, I would suggest that if you can get hold of a broad fork, an FD Ryan broad fork, or better still, an FD Ryan prepping fork, which has got the single stem and the handle at the top, the T handle at the top. If you go around your lawn and push that down as hard as you can, rock it backwards and forwards, you're going to allow fertiliser and air and water down deep in there, which will help to stimulate the lawn's growth. And then if you use a good organic lawn fertiliser such as
Nutrog's Sudden Impact for Lawns, or Munn's
organic lawn food,
Yes.
and give that a good dose. And roughly a handful to the square metre is all that you require there. You'll just set those lawns up beautifully to carry through into the winter months, and then you give it another dose early spring, and bang, they'll come on beautifully.
Fantastic.
You could even give them a dose in the middle of winter.
Yep, right, okay, yes, as you said earlier. When it comes to pruning, what should and shouldn't we be pruning in April, depending on the moon calendar, of course? Is there something that we shouldn't be pruning? Oh, there are all sorts of things like fruit trees. Which ones? Can't keep up with your fruit trees.
Yeah, look, fruit trees are a total different kettle of fish. Nectarines and peaches, you would have pruned those after you've harvested the fruit off those. But coming into winter, into April, for instance, coming into the start of winter, you'll find that a lot of apple trees, for instance, and pears have still got leaves on them.
Right.
So they're not.
Nothing
You don't
yet.
prune those at that particular stage. You wait until they go into full dormancy.
Yep.
Apricots, you can prune apricots before they lose all their leaves. So a lot of apricot plants will still have leaves on in April, and all you need to do with apricots is to prune back the new growth. So if you have a look at your actual branches and have a look for the from the tip back, you'll see that you'll have a green part. You cut off that green part, and that will then
Don't go into the
stipulate
woody
up here.
area.
And it's a good time to do that. Do that now, because there's still sap flow in happening with apricots that will then seal off those cuts and stop disease and everything else getting in.
Okay. Things like crepe myrtles and stuff, you can, if they've lost their leaves, it's all about losing their leaves basically before you prune.
Crepe myrtles, cut those back in
A third.
a third. Cut them back by a third if they've lost their leaves.
Yep. Fantastic. What about roses? Is it too soon to touch them?
A lot of roses will be starting to go into dormancy, and you could take out any water shoots, for instance, that are on them, cut those back,
Okay.
and just prune them up to an outward growing bud.
Yes.
Cut out all the inner part of a rose, so you're letting air and everything else get through. So they're all fine.
Cool. What about pests? Damn pests. What should we be looking for at this time of the year?
There's probably not a lot of pests that are going to be prevalent at this time of the year on plants, because their prime time is actually spring and summer, or springer and sprummer, as they like to call it sometimes. So pests you really don't need to worry too much about. But for fungus problems, then a dose of copper fungicide certainly wouldn't hurt. And do that to any of your ornamentals or your fruit trees or anything else. Give them a dose of copper.
Okay. And as the weather starts to cool down, is there anything in particular that we should keep an eye on?
Just
as in diseases.
Yeah, just fungal diseases.
Okay, nothing else. So
there's nothing else that's
Okay.
really, really problematic at that particular time of the year.
Okay. What can we do now to make winter feel less bare? Like, what should we be planting, Keith, to give us some colour through winter?
Well, you're looking at putting in
The vegetables you're going to mention, aren't you?
well,
Colourful
yeah,
vegetables.
vegetables. And look, if you've got a spot in your garden, in your normal garden, that's looking a bit bare, then
Chuck in a vegetable.
Go and chuck a vegetable in. If you go and chuck some of that hideous black Tuscan kale in a spot, the leaves on it look sensational. Or red drumhead cabbage. You've got a bare spot, put that in there.
Okay.
And you'll find that, that it's going to look good and it's going to grow and perform really well. It's not going to have pest and disease attack it during the cooler winter months. But another thing you might consider, and this is something that I'm going to be doing a bit in my trial garden this year, is I'm going to be ripping out and redoing a lot of the perennials. And I haven't come across a range of perennials that I particularly want to work with this year. So I'm going to be putting in plants that are going to be more evergreen. So,
Okay.
and the plants that I love, of course, are going to be things like lavender.
Yep.
And also things like Santolina,
Okay.
both
Yes,
the rose
yes.
marifolia and the chamois papyrus. So
Chamois
the
papyrus.
green form and the silver form. So I'll be putting
All
both
with lovely
those.
little yellow button flowers.
beautiful.
Yep, very gorgeous. Well, I think that's April taken care of, unless you can think of something else that we haven't discussed.
No,
No? If there's one thing to remember this month, it's that April is one of the most generous gardening months of the year. You think so?
I think so.
Yeah. The soil is warm, the air is cooler, and the plants are ready to establish before winter settles in. If you do a little now, your winter and spring garden will thank you immensely. Happy gardening.
Happy gardening.
Thank you for listening to Muddy Boots. For more information on today's podcast, please go to muddyboots.net.au, and happy gardening.